see it in the proper way, there will be just a chance to take a picture of it. So the church was built at the very turn of the 19th century. Now please, this is the place to take picture. Yeah. So the services usually start at 8 o'clock in the morning. And this is the first one. The second one is at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So that's how it is arranged. I'll show that to you. So now
still in the town of Peterhof.
A red building behind the trees, that one over there. That is the former horse stables. And at this moment we are really leaving Peterhof. So we are on that Peterhof highway. So Monastery, Holy Trinity Monastery we are passing by. At this moment 22 monks live in this building, but I told you they share the building with police. Well, to your right, on the top of that small hill, there was where the front line was. So during the Second World War, the front line was right here. So that area behind us was occupied by the Nazis, and this place was the place of severe battles during the Second World War.
Labor.
Well, you surely heard about Leningrad siege. Probably you know that in September Nazis troops were around Petersberg or Leningrad. That was the name of the city in those days. Hitler was sure that by the end of September 1941 his troops would manage to capture the city. But he failed, as you know. His troops were stopped just a few miles from the city, but they were never in Leningrad. Inside that piece of bread was like a matchbox. But that bread could hardly be called bread, as 2/3 of it consisted of different artificial additives.
It's just very hard to get used to the incredible depressiveness of this place. The huge block buildings of apartments. The messes that they are, the deterioration that there is on the outside. One can only hope the inside is not as bad. They look like what I imagine the Chicago and New York projects of the 60s would look like. Even buildings that had some modicum of imagination like this are run down. Sad commentary on the acidity of the Cold War. This huge building here, apparently they divide their city into 20 different sectors. This is number 14. And then from each of these buildings, they provide all of the hot and cold water and heat to all of the apartments. In other words, consistent with their centralized way of running a government. How inefficient or efficient that is compared to our system, one can only imagine. But God forbid anything should stop, then the whole sector shuts down.
Is the monument to that political leader of communist time, typical monument of Soviet time. Look at his gesture. Yes, this man shows the way to people, which those people who are behind me will see it better just in a few moments. We will pass that narrow triumphal arch. Our subway is relatively young. The first subway line was built in 1955. And before its construction there were discussions in the government and among the scientists look at the real part. I think I would be right saying that the development of Russian capitalism in the 19th century started from this place, from this particular district, because the first workshops, factories, plants of Russia's capital, called Petersberg, were constructed exactly here. And the houses, which from time to time you can see, the dwelling houses, which from time to time you can see here, like this, for example. These are the house. This is the house of the former workers and employees. Some buildings are, even in this part of the city, are rather interesting. Just in a few moments to your left, you will see Russian Orthodox Church, that one. It belongs to one of the local monasteries. Yes, so it's not only a church, it's a small monastery, that one. And one thing should be said, when in Petersburg or in some other Russian cities, when you see the crosses on the domes of the church, that is a good sign. That means that the church is inactive. They were not used for services. In 17, after the revolution, many ecclesiastic buildings, many temples were just destroyed. A tributary of the Neva River, and one of the first bridges across this river, it is called Kalinkin, due to the village Kalinka, which was here in the 18th century. So the Fountain River, right? But the river is still called so, the Fountain or Fontanka River. Beginning of the 19th century. They are old, they are really old. This part of St. Petersburg was always very quiet, very peaceful, and it's close to the Gulf, and maybe because of that, Russian artists like to stay or to live here. Famous Russian poet Alexander Pushkin, poet of the 90s, of Dostoevsky, walked along the embankment of this canal. The name of the canal is Catherine's Canal. It was dug out, it has artificial origin, to drain the grounds. I mentioned already that the city was built on the very marshy soils, among all the swamps and thick woods, yes? So just to drain the grounds, they dug out green, which is behind the trees. Just in a moment you will see. The name still remains obscure. We still don't know why it got such a name. And against each other. This is one of the explanations. But there is another one. Not far from here, there was a pub with the former residence of a legendary Russian family, the family of the Yusupov. Now we are turning, but if you look to your right, you can see that yellow building. That was the favorite residence of that family, that building of red and white color to your right. In Soviet time, in that building, there was the center of local trade unions. That's why the square got such a name, Labor Square. But it's interesting that the building itself was constructed in the 19th century, and it was the property of the Romanov family. It was the residence of Nicholas I. Well, from this place, looking to your right, on the opposite side of the river, you can see the Academy of Fine Arts companies, so they're public buildings. On the opposite side of the river, to your left, just in a second, you will see a building of such yellowish color. Typical specimen of the construction of the beginning of the 18th century. That is the former residence of Peter's close friend and associate Alexander Menshikov. Senate Square, building of the former Senate. The golden cupola of the St. Isaac's Cathedral, the fourth largest cupola cathedral in the world, you can see it to the right, and the monument to Peter I. The best monument to Peter, the founder of this place. We call this monument Bronze Horseman. So that was Senate Square. To your